Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. My name is Ajeng Tita Negoro. I'm from Telkom University Purwokerto, and I will representing the author of this paper. First, Ajeng Tita Negoro. Second, Mr. Samuel Gandang Gunanto from Institut Seni Indonesia Yogyakarta or ISI Yogyakarta. Third, Mr. Nurhadi from ISI Yogyakarta. Fourth, Mr. Ahmad Syaiful Anwar from ISI Yogyakarta. And fifth, Mr. Ginanjar Setyo Nugroho from ISI Yogyakarta. Today, I will present our Crafta 2026 paper with title Visual Adaptation of Dayak Ngaju Mythology and Ornamentation into Fantasy-Styled Character Illustration for Card Games. In short, this study show how Dayak Ngaju cultural elements like mythology, ornament, and traditional artifact can be transformed into high fantasy trading card game or TCG character illustration while keeping cultural identity clear and respectful. I will start with the background and the key problems we address. Indonesia cultural diversity is extremely rich, including Dayak Ngaju culture from central Kalimantan. Their visual heritage include traditional weapons, tattoo motifs, ornaments, and mythological narratives that carry deep meaning. However, these visual elements and story are become less familiar to younger generation, largely due to the modernization and the dominance of foreign media content. So, our question is, how can we preserve, popularize that Dayak Ngaju mythology and ornaments through a contemporary medium that teenagers actually engage with? We choose a trading card game because it is attractive to teen audience and relies heavily on the character-driven visual, making it an effective vehicle for storytelling and cultural transmission. Next, I will outline our objective and what we produce as a design output. Our primary objective is to develop TCG visual assets and character illustration by adapting Dayak Ngaju mythology and ornamentation into high fantasy visual style without losing the essence and identity of the source culture. The design output include 1. Mythological character illustration, specifically Bawikuwu, Jata, Sangyang, and 2. Supporting assets such as traditional weapons like mandau, talawang, lunju, and card type attribute icon like nature, fighter, ruler, shaman, and beast. So, the outcome is not only character art but also cohesive visual system that can function as a TCG product. To do this responsibly, we first identified which cultural elements would be adapted. We grounded the narrative in Dayak Ngaju source, particularly Tetek Tanum, which functioned as an origin story and life guidance, alongside belief in Ranying Hatalalangit as the creator. A key symbol in this research is Batang Garing, the tree of life, representing balance between humans, nature, and divine. In addition, we identified visual artifacts commonly associated with Dayak Ngaju identity, including mandau as sword, talawang as shield, lunju as spear, traditional tattoo motifs, and ornaments. These references become the visual DNA of our character design and card assets. Now, I will explain the methodology, how we move from cultural reference to a consistent fantasy TCG style. Our methodology combines cultural research, iconography analysis, and visual concept development. First, we conducted cultural identification, selecting mythological figures like Bawikuwu, Jata, and Sangyang, and we analyzing symbol iconography such as patanggaring, weapons, and motifs. Second, we define the visual strategy, genre, high fantasy, style, semi-realistic cartoon, chosen because it aligns with teen audience preference and current industry standard for card game illustration. Third, we designed the approach to symbolic integration. Authentic cultural attributes like mandau, talawang, tattoos, and ornaments are paired with fantasy effects such as aura, glow, and magical energy, but the cultural identity remains legible letter that being replaced. After concept definition, we executed the production using a digital painting workflow. We applied a four-stage digital painting pipeline. The first step is reference 2D or cultural visual. We collected ornaments, weapons, and methodological reference as a basis for accurate adaptation. And the next step is thumbnailing sketching. We explored multiple pose, silhouettes, and composition options to find design that feel dynamic and readable in a card format. And the next step is roof coloring. We establish color palettes and faction or attribute direction. For example, earthy tone for nature, associated character, or cold tones for sky or spiritual authority. And the final step is final rendering. We edit detail and texture, such as a crocodile scale for chata or a gold ornament for sangyang, while maintaining a consistent fantasy illustration finish. The tool we use for this illustration is hardware like a pen tablet, software Adobe Photoshop CC, and Pen Toolsai. Next, I will show the main design result, the three mythological characters. The first character is Bawi Kubu, often described as the secluded maiden. We interpret her as the nature attribute to emphasize her connection to the land and the Kalimantan's natural environment. Visually, her costume and accessories adopt elements inspired by local flora, forming a strong nature identity that still feel aligned with fantasy character conventions. We use the semi-realistic character direction to the character remains culturally identifiable while still accessible for teen audience and TCG communities. The next character represents the water domain and stronger hybridization approach. The second character is Jata, known as Water Deity, and often interpreted as a crocodile king. Adaptation point is 1. Role as a leader of water faction. 2. Visual form, a hybrid design combining a human structure with crocodile scale texture. This makes the mythological identity immediately recognizable through silhouette and surface detail. And the three weapon like Mandau, which link divine power with Dayak Ngaju warrior heritage, contextualized through the cultural history around the Rungan River. The intent is to keep Jata design fantasy powerful, but still connected to the traditional cultural markers. Next, we move to the sky realm figure Sangyang. The third character is Sangyang, depicted as a sky deity. We position Sangyang as a spiritual leader corresponding to the ruler attribute. Visually, the design emphasizes authority and celestial domain using gold ornamentation, sky symbols, and luminous accents, a composed, commanding posture appropriate for a rural or spiritual figure. The card type icon system is designed with local Kalimantan symbolism, like combined with fantasy visual effect, ensuring each category is relatable and culturally grounded. Beyond characters, we also build a coherent asset system, ornament, card backs, and icon. This slide highlights how we integrate cultural symbolism into the TCG border visual identity. First, batang garing is applied as a core visual element in a logotype and the card back design. This preserves the tree of life philosophy as a recurring symbol of balance and identity. Second, traditional weapons such as mandau, talawang, and lunju are rendered accurately but enhanced with magical aura to fit high fantasy expectation without erasing authenticity. Third, the attribute icon shaman, ruler, fighter, nature, peace combine local symbol with a modern visual style. For example, nature can reference recognizable regional fauna, such as the hornbill. Overall, this creates a unified TCG visual system where culture is embedded not only in characters, but also in game UI and identity assets. Finally, I will conclude what is approach demonstrate and what we propose next. So, the conclusion our study demonstrate that adapting Dayak Ngaju mythology and ornament into TCG character illustration through digital painting and semi-realistic cartoon fantasy style can be produce assets that are first unique, two dynamic, three cultural identifiable, and capable of transferring cultural values to younger generation through modern entertainment media. The future work next step is included like one, developing and testing TCG gameplay mechanism. Two, evaluating player experience and reception. Three, expanding the same adaptation framework into the other media such as animation and digital comics to broaden cultural literacy impact. Okay, that's the conclusion of our paper and thank you for your attention.